Hello, YouTube. We are at week 13 of the NFL season. For me, my picks last week ended up 9-7, so not the best they could have been, but considering the week that was and all the fantastical, ridiculous endings that happened, it was pretty decent, I suppose. But here we are with week 13. Only 2 teams on bye this week, but let's go through each of them individually as always. You know where to find me. Don't have a Twitter anymore because I said certain things that are not appropriate to the establishment, but let's start anyway. And here we are with the first game. Buffalo versus New England. In a game that looks to be better than the one last year at this time. Deion Dawkins and Von Miller are out for the Buffalo, but Damian Harris is out for the Patriots. Boy, it's in New England. I don't know. I think Buffalo's going to win. I just think they've been on a run and are close to returning their old form. They've still getting more and more players back every day. And especially I think this is a trap game for Buffalo. I think the Bills win, but it should be a decent Thursday game for a change. Excluding Thanksgiving games, which are usually good. This one seems to be should be a pretty good normal Thursday game. And next we have Pittsburgh versus Atlanta. Atlanta with the loss at the end with the interception that's just ridiculous. And Pittsburgh coming back and beating the Colts. Boy, I don't know how to pick this game at all. This is a toss-up of all toss-ups. Every time I've seen the pick against Atlanta, I guess last week I picked against Atlanta and they lost, but not because they should have lost, but because Marcus Mariota can't throw a football. And Pittsburgh is up and down, all over the place. I don't know what to think, to be honest. Oh, Pittsburgh or Atlanta. I guess we'll go Atlanta. But am I confident in that going to happen? No, I'm not. Next we have Green Bay versus Chicago. Packers losing last week, giving up over 300 rushing yards and 500 offensive yard total to the best team in the NFC. And Chicago getting mauled by the Jets. I have no idea if Justin Fields is going to play this week. It looks like A-Rod is going to play for the Packers because of course he is, which is good. He's still the Packers' best opportunity to win. It seems like Romeo Doubs is close to returning and Devondre Campbell as well, so that would be big for them. I know there's a lot of Packer fans out there that say the Packers should just tank, but tanking is gay, and I hate teams that tank. It's just really unprofessional and are only done by losers that just can't win. If you tank, you don't deserve to win because you're admitting that you suck at the game you play. But I think the Packers win just because Packers beat the Bears. And next we have Jacksonville versus Detroit. Another toss-up game. Detroit losing at the end of the Bills last week because they gave them too much time. And Jacksonville coming back in ridiculous fashion to beat the Ravens, making things ridiculous and hard to fathom for the rest of the year, to be honest. Boy, do I not know how to pick this game either. This is going to be a common thing for this week. A lot of these games I looked at the other day and I thought, wow, how are you going to pick that? That sounds like such a toss-up. But I don't know. Lions offense has been getting better, although they failed at critical moments last week. Their defense is still not there, and Trevor Lawrence showed up pretty well last week, so I don't know. Let's say Jacksonville just because of the way they won last week. Should be a good game. Next we have the Jets versus Minnesota. I'm going to pick the Vikings, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than it has any right to be. If the Jets are smart, they continue to go with Mike Hide Your Wife White. But Minnesota looked okay last week. They struggled at times. They were fortunate to have the refs not know what a catch is anymore, and the game completely shifted after that touchdown was turned into a field goal. And the Jets just mopped up the Bears completely. Their defense is going to be really good. Again, that defense for the Jets is legit and keeps them in games every week. And their offense showed up really well last week. So I'm going to pick Minnesota just that they have a little more, but look for this one to be one of the best games of the week. I would definitely say that. Next, we have Washington and the Giants. And the Giants put up some fight last week against the Cowboys for the most part and fell apart in the second half as usual. I think the Giants are crashing back down to earth and should not be trusted for the rest of the year, to be honest. Saquon Barkley is starting to revert back to what he was, unfortunately. In the Commies, Brian Robinson Jr. had a coming out party last week, mostly because of game flow. He did really well, but sooner or later, he's going to take that job away from Antonio Gibson just because of game flow, and he just looks like a better, more powerful running back. And as long as Heineke is out there, they have a chance to win. Just don't put him in. They don't put him in chances for him to fail, and he succeeds. So, Washington, I think it should be pretty close for the most part, but I think the Commies pull away at the end. I think they really want to make the playoffs, and I don't doubt them. They will. Next, we have Tennessee versus Philadelphia in a game that should be great. Tennessee losing in the most ridiculous ways, pushing the fucking center on the field goal because he's a defensive player. I actually did not know that, but it makes sense because he's much smaller than the other lineman there. And Philadelphia having lots of offense against the Packers, but giving up 33 points to the Packers in the process, so that's not good. But I don't know, it should be a rebound game for Derrick Henry, at least a little bit. But it should be a really good competitive game. Jalen Hurts wants to prove he's the MVP. I don't think he's going to win, but he will continue to play well anyway. Tennessee, like I said, Derrick Henry should have a bounce-back game this week, but we'll see. This is a toss-up. I think I'll pick Philly just because they've been a hot streak and giving Tennessee another loss, but man, it's going to be a great game through and through. Both these teams are really good. Both these teams looking to be playoff teams for sure. And here we are. Next we have Denver versus Baltimore. Denver is just done. They're just done. They're now fighting with Russell Wilson on the sidelines, and it's just coming to fruition that this season for them was cursed. And I don't know how Hackett keeps his job next year, other than that they just think this year was a fluke, but it's not a fluke. I don't think he can honestly coach. Baltimore losing at the end to Jacksonville. Lamar Jackson just seems hurt. I'm sure he'll play this week again, but yeah, he's just, I mean, other than early in the year when he's putting up all those numbers, just lately he just looks very pedestrian. I mean, unless he can run, he just doesn't look, he's not that great of a quarterback. But I'm going to give it to Baltimore just because Denver is just a mess, and Baltimore's defense should be plenty enough to hold off that roaring Denver let's ride offense. But yeah, Baltimore wins, and I don't think it's that close. Next we have Cleveland versus Houston, the return of the not rapist Deshaun Watson, yes, he's not a rapist, and stop saying it. He was found not guilty in a court of law. Stop calling him a rapist. But anyway, he returns. He'll probably be a little rusty, obviously, because he hasn't played full-time NFL football in like 2 years. Houston, boy, it's just a mess. And I mean, it's unfortunate because Dameon Pierce has had such a great year for a rookie with a terrible team. But it's just like they can't block for him anymore. For fantasy purposes, I don't know if I want to start him this week. I think I may start him out of necessity, but it's really unfortunate that he's had 2 bad games in a row. Basically, if Houston gets out of the game, then Dameon Pierce just has no usability and they just don't use him, which doesn't make sense because he's one of their best offensive players. But Cleveland wins. Well, I guess it could be close just because Cleveland's up and down team every week. In Houston, you never know. You think they're going to get at least one more win, but who knows. Next we have the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. Rams losing to the Chiefs. Perkins looked pretty good last week for the most part, but had a couple of interceptions that kept them from staying in the game. Seattle losing in overtime to the Raiders on the ridiculous rushing touchdown for Jacobs at the end. The big 85-yard touchdown. Just ridiculous. Terrible block or terrible tackling. And boy, it's kind of a no. I don't know if Stafford's going to play this weekend. We'll see if he passes concussion protocol. I think Seattle wins. Kenny Walker should still be able to get yards. And Geno Smith hasn't been the best the past couple of weeks, but I think he bounces back in a decent way, and Seattle wins the game. Next we have Miami San Francisco, one of the best games of the week for sure. McCaffrey having a not so good week against the Saints because surprisingly the Saints are usually able to contain him pretty well. And Miami, with the rousing win against Houston, I think they show some concerns. Tyreek Hill didn't really play the second half because of cramps. That he says that shouldn't be a problem going forward, but boy, when he's not out there, they kind of took their foot off the gas and they didn't score anymore. Got up 30-0 in the first half. And then only won 30-15 against Houston, but I don't know. It should be a really good game. 2 of the top teams in their respective conferences. I think Miami wins, but like I said, it should be a really close game. Next we have Kansas City versus Cincinnati. Another great game of the week. Cincinnati beating Tennessee last week. Cincinnati beating Tennessee last week. Kansas City beating the Rams. A rematch of the AFC Championship game from a year ago. Mahomes will probably be his good normal self. And Burrow should be his good normal self. Battle of defenses. Whoever gets the wins the turnover battle should win this game. Cincinnati, we'll see if Mixon plays this week or not. Would probably be a big help for them if they want to win. I'm going to pick Kansas City for now. I may change this in the comment section just depending on if Mixon plays, but it should be a really good game. Kansas City wins, but it's going to be a hell of a game. Next we have the Chargers versus the Raiders. The Chargers winning at the end against the Cardinals, even though they were trying to screw that game up in every way. And the Raiders winning in exciting fashion in overtime against the Seahawks. This game is always competitive against these two teams. Man, I don't know who to pick. I don't know if Mike Williams will play for the Chargers, but I think Palmer should be back to his normal self. and should have a good game. Keenan Allen. Eckler, I think, should be able to run in this game. The Raiders. Devontae having not so stellar game, but Jacobs proving everybody wrong again that he's still a good running back. I think the Chargers win, but it should be close. I don't know how confident I feel about that, but I don't think the Raiders are going to charge a playoff spot or something stupid like that. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts and the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. I'm just done picking the Colts. I'm done picking the Colts. Jonathan Taylor should be able to run this game. Pollard and Elliott should be able to run decently in their game. It should be a good game, I guess, for the most part. No, I don't know. Indy is so hard to pick. So is Dallas, honestly, at times, just because Dallas didn't look great in that first half. We stacked didn't look good in that first game. But, should be a competitive game, at least for a little while. I think Dallas probably pulls away. If Indy wants to stay in the game, they need to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. They need to run with Jonathan Taylor, just plain and simple. But I think Dallas wins and pulls away. And our final game of the week, we have the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A game that I don't know how to pick, really. Saints got shut out last week against the 49ers, although putting up a decent effort. Maybe not on the offensive side, but holding the 49ers to only 13 points should be seen as a win. Tampa Bay losing in upsetting fashion for them to the Browns. I think Brady's cooked, to be honest. I know he's divorced now, so he could return next year, but I don't think it happens. This game could probably go a long way to deciding who wins the NFC South, but begrudgingly, I have to pick the Buccaneers just because they have a little bit more on offense. And, yeah, the Saints are not going to win this week, I don't think, but should be a good matchup regardless. And there we have my picks for Week 13 of the NFL season. To recap, we have the Bills. We have the Bills, the Falcons, the Packers, the Jags, the Vikings, the Commies, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Browns, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, tentatively at least, Chargers, Dallas, and Tampa Bay. Those are my picks for Week 13 of the NFL season. Totally correct picks that are totally going to happen. But you use your own judgment. Seriously, use your own judgment when picking these games. I'm just here as a service to help anybody that has any last minute questions about what could happen and just give my insight. But Locals and Rumble are the main channels that I'm trying to push, and YouTube, of course. Haven't really been on Twitch lately. Probably not going to go back there until I have a more decent following. And like I said, Twitter, I'm off there for now. Hopefully I get my account back, but who knows if that's going to happen. But as always, go Pack Go. Have a great day, and God bless.